So I'm Ryan Hickman. I was a longtime Googler. I formed the Cloud Robotics team at Google. I didn't realize these would be blocking.
It's okay.
That's the reverse. Oh, it's
okay.
not reversed.
So I was a longtime Googler, founded the Cloud Robotics team, and then I left, went over to the Toyota Research Institute for a bit in Los Altos before starting TickTock in early 2017. So I'm going to walk you through some of our explorations of what we were going to do in the consumer robot space, and hopefully have some time to give you some demos, and I've got plenty of videos of what we were up to. So the company was founded by myself and Suyun. Suyun was also a longtime Googler. He and I met when I was working on the Project Tango team, and we had these mobile devices that could make maps. They had depth sensors on the back, and you could make a map of a room. And we were like, wow, we should really map the planet. So we reached out to Google Maps team and said, does anyone want to help us create the back end for that? And Suyun was on the Google Maps team at the time, and so that's where we met. We reunited years later to found TickTock. The inspiration for the company, though, comes from my childish nature, where I grew up watching Fantasia, and I wanted to be the Sorcerer's Apprentice. I just want to raise my arms and have the world come to life and do work for me. I know that doesn't work out well in that particular episode, but Mickey was doing gesture recognition, before the Kinect existed, right? Just raise your arms and the world should work for us. And so when I first started poking on this was in 2009. This is a picture from my desktop at my home apartment. My son was about 1 year old at the time. I thought all of his toys were terrible. Everything from Leapfrog to Disney to Hasbro and Mattel was just not sophisticated, and it wasn't what I thought my kids would grow up with. And so I had this Arduino collection, and I was trying to hack on things, and I was also making terrible, weak, silly little knobs that bleeped and blooped. But I had a desk full of Android phones because I was an Android dog fooder, and the Android phones had 400 megahertz chips in them, which at the time was amazing, and speech recognition and cameras and connections to Google Maps and all of these capabilities, but this brain was trapped in the phone. So what you're seeing there was the hello world of cloud robotics. It was USB to serial out of the USB port of a HTC G1 into an Arduino, where a Python script could turn on an LED. And it was like, okay, now we're rocking. I can have a phone affect the physical world. This turned into a 20% project within Google, which is not talked about as much anymore, but the idea was that Googlers could spend about a day a week working on something fun, as long as it was related to computer science or the internet. And I had about 65 people pool up a bunch of time, and we spent October 2010 hacking on robots, just trying everything we could think about of connecting Android to robots, just seeing what the opportunities were. We did mapping, we worked with iRobot Creates, Legos, we had a traveling Rubbermaid cart, we had a telepresence robot. It was really an exploration, and some of that work actually continues on to this day through various things that have been open sourced or released. But in forming the company TickTock, the big question was, is now the time for a small startup to really make a dent in the robotics space? So what is on the left was a video of a turtle bot while I was working at Google. This was $3,100 worth of robot, because there was a iRobot base, there was a laptop, a Kinect, plus a LiDAR, all trying to map my house, and it basically delivered a sippy cup full of water to my son for $3,000 worth of robot. Nobody's going to buy that. But what was worse was it was not robust. I actually had an intern come to my house, and it took all afternoon just to get the map to work once, and many takes just to get that one shot. It was just too soon. So we fast forward now. Now Tango exists, and a cell phone can make a map. And now we take a cell phone and we put it on top of a Kabuki base, and that's all that there is to this. There's no laptop, there's no LiDAR. And for $500 worth of equipment, I had a robot running around my house autonomously, robustly. The maps worked well. It avoids obstacles with the depth sensor. And then we had the opportunity for voice control and other things. So this told us that, hey, the world is changing. And I would actually, for all of you out there, I think by 2019, we will see high school students just hop in Unity, grab an Android phone or an iPhone using ARCore or ARKit, and they'll just make an autonomous robot. You just take a phone, you stick some wheels and motors on it, hop in Unity, and the SLAM part will be solved. Task completion and user interaction, now that's a different story, but the basics of just where is my robot and how does it get from A to B is becoming a solved problem thanks to augmented reality. So this was the first concept for TickTock. We said, okay, the technical capabilities are there, so what would the product look like? And we had this idea of a very simple base. We removed everything extraneous to a robot other than mobility. And if you are aware of Kiva Systems, which Amazon bought years ago, they make these big orange boxes that drive under shelves in the Amazon warehouse, lift them up, and take them to people to pick your order. All they do is slide under things, lift them up, and move them. And this is very helpful in a warehouse environment. And we thought this might be useful in your home as well. Imagine if you had a bunch of different accessories, physical accessories for robots that could be driven under and then activated as needed. If you have an elder care need in your home, you would buy that accessory. If you had a pet care need, you would get that one. And the robot could then actuate these different modes at different times. But out of the box, it would basically be a little base with 2 plastic stands, and you'd welcome it into your home like a new pet. You'd get to know you and get to know your space, and you would show it where you keep things. So you might say, here is where I keep my clothes hamper. I put it on top of my little plastic base, and now the robot would know where you like to keep that item, and it could bring you your laundry basket, it could bring you your garbage can anytime on demand. We might even see an evolution of products being designed specifically for robots to go fetch them. So on the left would be a custom designed laundry basket with a couple inches of space below, meant for a robot to slide under it and go get it for you. This is much more practical than a Rosie the Robot system with complex arms. And this costs nothing to make in the plastic design. We can see the same with trash cans. These are more of an industrial look, but there's a large workforce, for example, here at Google that goes to every cubicle and goes and grabs the trash cans and tries to empty them. Imagine if on the morning they just opened the back door near the dumpster and 50 trash cans had lined up by the back door. That would be a very quick emptying process, and then the little robot over the next hour or so could return empty trash cans back out to the cubicles. So it's a big time-saving opportunity. And then one day, all products would be designed for robots to go fetch them. But what about the powered accessories, beyond just moving inert things? Fetching beer is a very, very common joke around robots. Robot, fetch me a beer. Usually it involves an arm, but arms are very complicated. And an arm that could open your current home refrigerator and reach behind the milk safely to get a bottle of beer is just so many years away from being done in a lab reliably. It's even many more years away before this is ever going to be affordable and in a multi-millionaire's home, and even more years away before most of us would have that. So, but this is totally practical. I would absolutely buy one of these and call my robot to come bring me beers for parties. And one day, yes, we could add arms on top. We made this mostly just to show the investors, because they always ask, when are you going to have arms? And we say, one day we'll have arms. But the feedback we got from investors, so part of this story, by the way, is for those interested in running a startup, is it's really important to focus on your customer. But you can only do that when you have money. And so before you can focus on your customer, you're kind of focusing on making an investor happy to give you the money to go make the customer happy. So investor feedback was, okay, that's very cute. I think you're still thinking Google, you're thinking big platform play with accessories, with robots and all of these add-on modules. But look, you're a small startup. What's the one accessory that people will want on launch day? What's the one thing you'll ship with? And the thing that kept resonating when we would do user studies was cleaning. So over there on the left, you'll see we said, what if we just brought you a dustpan and a broom when you have a mess? That would just be a very time-saving thing. You have a baby, you're busy, and the robot comes and brings you that to clean up after a mess. That's cool, but people said, look, it's not 1950 anymore, don't bring me a dustpan, bring me my Dyson. So we designed the second one, which was like, okay, well now we go and we fetch you your Dyson, and there's even a roll of towels there. But then people said, but my Dyson is ugly, so I keep it in the closet, or I keep it in the garage, and the robot can't go get it. So we said, fine, we'll make an attractive one. So what you're seeing there is an evolution of design and user feedback, where we had an attractive system that had a removable hand back It could also clean the floor and bring you cleaning supplies when your kids made a mess. So for those of you with kids, you know that they don't just eat 3 times a day, they also have at least 2 snacks. And if they're like under 5, they make a mess every single time. So you have at least 5 messes a day to clean up. And the Roomba is not contextually aware, nor is the Neato, so they don't recognize that, hey, it's 7 in the morning, the kids are having breakfast, there's probably a mess, I should show up at the kitchen to come help clean up the mess. The idea was the TickTock robot would do that. So the accessory play added some complications, and so some of the feedback was, can you simplify it and just make your launch product fully integrated? Get back to the accessories story in your V2. So we said, sure. So then we evolved into a fully integrated, contextually aware, on-demand cleaning bot. And so that's the sort of evolution of design that you're seeing there. And the one on the right really was because we kept finding resonating feedback from families. People with kids really liked this idea of cleaning many times a day. They had a much stronger need than a single person who maybe has a cat and the Roomba is fine cleaning up while they're at work, cleaning up the pet hair out of the carpet. So the Roomba was solving their problem.
This is a Neato room.
Thank you for that, Mark.
We got some feedback about vacuuming in the first place, and Neato was actually something that many investors brought up. Neato had made, for many years, a better product than iRobot's Roomba by many measures. But when you would walk into Best Buy, the end cap would be all iRobot Roombas, and down the aisle on the bottom shelf would be the Neato vac. And so making a better product is not the only thing you need to do. And as a small startup, going up against iRobot on distribution and marketing would have been very challenging. In fact, somebody like Ecovacs has come into the US with a $200 million marketing campaign and has now started to crush Dyson and is impacting iRobot.
Shark's the one you have to watch.
And Shark, yes.
But
So
Ecovacs actually made both the Roomba and the Neato, by the way.
Who, what?
Ecovacs actually made
Oh, I
the
wouldn't
physical
say that.
hardware.
I would disagree
Oh, that's
with that.
controversial.
start with Josh first. But we looked at vacuuming. We designed a whole lot of different things for vacuuming. It's not a solved space. There is still opportunity for innovation, and hopefully we'll see more of that soon. But the idea was it's Mo from WALL-E. If you've seen the movie WALL-E, Mo is one of my favorite characters because he knows when there's a mess, comes out and attacks the mess. If you make more mess, he attacks that. And then when it's all clean, he leaves. So he has one task, he knows when to do it, and gets it done. But this idea of a character was really, really important to not freak out pets. I didn't put a video in here, but if you do search for baby or pet crying because of Roomba, there's hundreds of YouTube videos of these. The Roomba these robot vacuums, I'll just generically, robot vacuums do not communicate what their intent is, what they're about to do, they just come at you. And that totally freaks most living things out. So the idea would be, let's make something more approachable. We unabashedly used women and the word mom in a lot of our marketing and our presentation material because the stats show that still 60 to 70% of cleaning in the home is still done by the woman in the home, despite it being a robot, which would typically be marketed towards like a male audience who are the early adopters of drones. And that was a debate we would have with our investors is, do we want the people who buy drones to buy this robot because it's cool and neat, or do we want the people who actually make the cleaning decisions to buy the robot because they have a need and they need it solved? And an interesting arc there is Ring, the doorbell system, was initially bought during its first years by male early adopters. They did a deal in their third year with Costco, and that was the first year they had 100 million unit sales. Women were picking it up in Costco, and then they had good gender balance. Not something you often think about when you're trying to build a robot and you're trying to get ROS to compile, but these things matter when you're trying to design a product. Then we said, well, what if it was also fun? And this started a design discussion that moved into a whole new area, because many of the unanimous investor feedback was, don't make a vacuuming robot. It's too mechanically complex and too hard to go up against the distribution of iRobot. What else can you do to simplify things? And we did some tests, and kids really liked a robot that interacted with them and played sounds. It gave you peace of mind when you weren't home. It was a remote camera. So there were these functions that had nothing to do with cleaning that started to gain traction. So we said, let's simplify the story. Let's take away the vacuum and put just a basket on it. What could we do with just a mobile integrated basket? And here is a concept video that I hope the audio will play for you.
Getting TickTock. TickTock is going to the dollhouse.
There's a lot to unpack there, but a key element there was, for those of you who recognize the Barney cleanup song, there is this Pavlovian dog effect when you play that song to a toddler, because in their schools, in their nurseries, whatever, they play that song, and that's how you get the kids to learn to clean up. So that 2-year-old is a neighbor of mine. She came over to the house. Her parents brought her over, and the robot was just on the ground interacting with her, and I remotely triggered that song to play, and she started picking things up and moving in the basket. But we showed that to the parents of teenagers, and they were like, my kids will ignore that thing, they've got headphones on, they're going to tune it out, they want nothing to do with it. So there's a lot of things like NetNanny and these APIs from different wireless services where you can actually make an API call to cut off the Wi-Fi and pause the television. That will get the
Play the Barney song.
teenager's attention. Yeah, blast the Barney song. So my son there, he's sitting there on the chair playing a game, and the robot comes by and sees his shoes on the floor and cuts off his Wi-Fi. Right? The idea is he's like, fine, I'll clean up. So interesting concepts there. But just getting kids to clean up. A quote from one VC said, by VC I mean venture capitalist, by the way, for those who have not gone out and sought funding before. You go up and down Sand Hill Road saying, please give me money. They're called venture capitalists, and there's so much money out there that it's actually very difficult these days to get a little bit of money. They want the big ideas. Anyways, the feedback was, that's the most Silicon Valley bubble thing I've ever seen. A $400 smart toy box that gets kids to clean up is not going to fly anywhere more than 30 miles away from here. That's ridiculous. So can it do more? And so this was the basket. This was the basket idea. We evolved it up to TickTock the butler. And the idea would be and the brown one on the very end was our prototype of this. The idea is you come home and you empty your keys, your wallet, your glasses, your phone into some tray or something by the door today. That's a very common task people do. But then you might need your wallet because then you're on the couch trying to place an online order and you need your credit card, now your wallet's in the other room. That's a pain in the butt. Or a lot of people told us that they get battery anxiety in the evening. They want to use their phone at 10 p.m. while they're watching TV, but the battery's dying, so it's over in another room on a charger. And then a lot of women told us that they wear clothing that doesn't have pockets on them, so their phones are not with them. So the phone is often ringing in a different room. So the idea is, why doesn't it just bring it to you? And that's essentially what the butler was. We really focused on the user interaction layer of making it easy to work with. So here is a concept video of what the butler would do. There's a little bit of overlap in the technology demo.
TickTock, come check out my house. This is Cole's room. This is your charger. And stay away from the fireplace. Did we leave the stove on?
I see.
Let me check. TickTock, go to the stove. No, we're good.
TickTock, go to the table.
All right, dude, I'm done with the front brakes.
Great. Now let's start on the gear.
Okay, Google. TickTock, help the kids clean up the toys in the living room.
TickTock is going to the living room.
That was a new piece of information for me, by the way.
Yeah, that was the Mario sound.
Oh, Mario.
When you get a coin. Thank you. So, I don't know, one day we'll gamify parenting, and the AIs in our life will, parents can still set the rules, like we determine what the rules are, but we get extra help on the enforcement side. I think that'd be interesting. One of the things about the extra set of hands is that a lot of people have mobility needs, and they need a robot to help move things around. So we added that. And then we talked with a partner who makes speakers. I won't mention their name. And they love this idea because their business is getting crushed by all these Echoes and Google Homes everywhere. People aren't buying nice speaker systems. They're compromising on speaker quality to get something that you could at least just talk to, because it just makes it easier to play music. And that way, that matters more to people than having high quality speaker. So what if the best speaker in your house was always in the room you're in? So you invest a lot in a single big speaker system, and it goes wherever you need it to go.